Before you open your refrigerator today, you need to hear this. Some of the foods you've been storing there for years may be silently harming your digestion, draining your energy, and even spiking your blood sugar after 60. Doctors are now warning that refrigerating certain everyday foods can strip away nutrients and make them much harder for an aging body to handle. The scary part is, the symptoms don't show up right away, so most people never make the connection. In this video, I'm going to show you 7 very common foods that should not be in your fridge after 60, and why moving them could make you feel better faster than you think. As we get older, the way our body responds to food changes in ways most people don't realize, and one of the most overlooked factors is how food is stored before it ever reaches the plate. Many common foods that people automatically put into the refrigerator actually begin to lose important nutrients, flavor, and digestibility once they're exposed to cold temperatures. And after the age of 60, this can quietly create a chain reaction of health issues. Digestion naturally slows down with age because stomach acid levels drop. Digestive enzymes are produced in smaller amounts, and the gut lining becomes more sensitive. When foods are refrigerated unnecessarily, their structure changes make them tougher for the digestive system to break down, which can lead to bloating, gas, heaviness after meals, and a general feeling of discomfort that many older adults simply accept as normal aging. Cold temperatures can also alter carbohydrates and starches in food, turning them into forms that digest differently and often more aggressively. This can cause sudden blood sugar spikes even when eating foods that once felt harmless, which is especially concerning for people over 60 who are managing insulin resistance, prediabetes, or type 2 diabetes. At the same time, refrigeration can reduce the availability of antioxidants, healthy fats, and natural enzymes that the body relies on to fight inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the biggest drivers of joint pain, fatigue, heart issues, and cognitive decline. As we age, and many people don't realize that something as simple as cold storage can quietly contribute to it. Flavor loss is another hidden issue that connects directly to health. When food loses its natural taste due to refrigeration, people often compensate by adding more salt, sugar, sauces, or refined fats. Over time, this habit can raise blood pressure, stress the heart, and contribute to weight gain. For older adults whose calorie needs are lower but nutrient needs are higher, this trade-off becomes especially damaging. Refrigerated foods can also feel less satisfying, leading to overeating or snacking later, which further disrupts blood sugar balance and digestion. Another concern doctors are increasingly pointing out is gut health. The balance of good bacteria in the gut becomes more fragile after 60, and food that is harder to digest can ferment improperly in the intestines. This can trigger inflammation, irregular bowel movements, and even affect mood and energy levels through the gut-brain connection. What makes this issue tricky is that the symptoms often appear slowly and quietly, so people rarely connect them to something as simple as where their food is stored. Over time, however, these small daily stresses on the body can accumulate, making people feel older than they should and less resilient than they could be as people move past the age of 60. The way the body handles carbohydrates and starches changes significantly, and that makes the refrigeration of certain everyday foods far more impactful than most realize. Foods like bread, beignets, and potatoes undergo chemical and structural changes when exposed to cold temperatures, and those changes directly affect how the body processes them. In a younger body with a faster metabolism and stronger digestive enzyme production, these changes might go unnoticed. But in an older body where digestion slows and insulin response becomes more sensitive, the effects can show up as bloating, fatigue, sluggishness, or unexpected blood sugar spikes after meals that once felt harmless. When bread is refrigerated, the starch molecules reorganize into a more rigid form through a process known as starch retrogradation. This makes the bread harder, drier, and much more difficult for digestive enzymes to break down. For older adults, this can mean slower digestion, gut irritation, and increased gas or constipation. Because the bread no longer tastes fresh, people often toast it heavily or pair it with sugary spreads to improve flavor, which can further increase blood sugar load. What seems like a simple storage habit quietly turns a basic food into something that stresses both digestion and glucose control. Bananas are another common example where refrigeration disrupts the natural ripening process. Cold temperatures halt the conversion of starches into simple sugars, leaving the fruit in a partially unripe state even if the peel darkens. These resistant starches are much harder for the aging digestive system to process, often leading to bloating and discomfort. For individuals over 60, whose gut bacteria balance is already shifting, this can contribute to irregular digestion and feelings of heaviness. Instead of providing gentle energy, a refrigerated banana can become surprisingly taxing on the system. Potatoes present a more hidden risk. When stored in the fridge, their starch converts into sugar through cold-induced sweetening. While this might not taste overly sweet, it significantly raises the glycemic impact once the potatoes are cooked. For older adults managing blood sugar, this can lead to sharper glucose spikes and crashes, which contribute to fatigue and cravings later in the day. Additionally, these altered starches can create inflammatory compounds when cooked at high temperatures, adding another layer of stress to the body. What makes all of this especially concerning after 60 is that blood sugar regulation plays a major role in energy levels, brain function, and long-term metabolic health. Repeated spikes and crashes can worsen insulin resistance, increase inflammation, and accelerate aging processes. Refrigerating starch-heavy foods seems harmless, but over time it can quietly shift how the body responds to meals, making digestion harder and blood sugar less stable. Simple changes in storage can help foods remain closer to their natural state, making them easier to digest and gentler on blood sugar, which supports steadier energy and better overall health. As the body ages after the age of 60, the body becomes far more dependent on nutrient-dense foods to support heart health, immune function, joint mobility, and brain performance, which is why the way certain foods are stored matters more than ever. Foods like tomatoes, garlic, honey, and olive oil are often labeled as healthy, but when they are kept in the refrigerator, their most powerful protective compounds can slowly break down or become less available to the body. This loss isn't dramatic or immediate, which is why many people never connect it to how they feel, but over time it can quietly weaken the very systems these foods are meant to support. Tomatoes are a prime example. They contain lycopene, a potent antioxidant associated with reduced inflammation and better cardiovascular health. Cold temperatures damage the internal cell structure of tomatoes, which not only dulls flavor but also reduces the body's ability to absorb lycopene effectively. For older adults whose nutrient absorption is already declining due to reduced digestive efficiency, this means missing out on one of the key benefits tomatoes offer. Refrigerated tomatoes can also irritate the stomach lining and worsen acid reflux, a common issue after 60, making a food that should be nourishing feel uncomfortable to eat. Garlic plays a powerful role in immune defense and circulation, largely due to a compound called allicin. This compound forms when garlic is crushed or chopped, but its production and stability are affected by cold storage. Refrigerating garlic can slow this process, reduce potency, and encourage sprouting or mold, which further diminishes its health value. For older adults, whose immune systems respond more slowly to infection, losing even small amounts of garlic's protective effects can make a noticeable difference over time. Honey is another food whose benefits are often underestimated. Raw honey contains natural enzymes and antimicrobial properties that support gut health and immunity. When honey is refrigerated, it crystallizes, and while this doesn't make it unsafe, it often leads people to overheat it to restore a liquid texture. Excessive heating destroys many of the enzymes and antioxidants that make honey beneficial in the first place. For someone over 60, maintaining gut balance is essential, and refrigerated honey can quietly lose its supportive role in digestion and immune health. Olive oil is perhaps the most important example, especially for heart and brain health. Its anti-inflammatory power comes from polyphenols that are sensitive to repeated temperature changes. Refrigeration causes olive oil to thicken and separate, and while it may look fine once warmed, repeated cold exposure can degrade these compounds over time. For older adults relying on olive oil to protect against cardiovascular disease and cognitive decline, improper storage can reduce its effectiveness. When these foods are stored correctly at room temperature, they retain their natural protective qualities, helping the body fight inflammation, support immunity, and maintain strength as it continues to age after the age of 60. The body goes through quiet but meaningful changes that affect how nutrients are absorbed, processed, and used, which is why proper food storage becomes just as important as food choice itself. Stomach acid levels naturally decline with age, digestive enzymes are produced in smaller amounts, and the gut lining becomes less efficient at pulling vitamins and minerals from food. This means that even a diet filled with healthy foods may not deliver the same benefits it once did if those foods are stored in ways that degrade their nutritional quality. Refrigeration, while helpful for preventing spoilage in some cases, can interfere with texture, structure, and nutrient availability in others, creating a gap between what we think we're eating and what the body is actually receiving. As digestion slows, the body becomes less forgiving of foods that are harder to break down. Cold storage can stiffen fibers, alter fats, and change starch composition, all of which increase the workload on the digestive system. For someone over 60, this extra effort can show up as bloating, discomfort, sluggishness after meals, or a general lack of energy that lingers throughout the day. Many people interpret these sensations as unavoidable signs of aging, but in reality they are often signals that the digestive system is being pushed beyond what it can comfortably handle. When foods are stored correctly and closer to their natural state, digestion becomes smoother and more efficient, allowing the body to extract more nourishment with less strain. Nutrient absorption also becomes more selective with age. Vitamins like A, D, E, and K, which are fat-soluble and crucial for bone strength, immune defense, and brain health, depend heavily on the integrity of healthy fats. Improper storage, especially refrigeration of oils and fat-rich foods, can reduce their effectiveness. Similarly, antioxidants that protect cells from oxidative stress can degrade when foods are exposed to conditions they were never meant to endure. Over time, this nutrient loss contributes to increased inflammation, slower healing, and reduced resilience, even when calorie intake remains the same. Another important factor is metabolic efficiency. After 60, the body processes glucose and fats more slowly, making it more sensitive to fluctuations caused by altered food structure. When foods are stored in ways that increase glycemic impact or reduce satiety, blood sugar becomes less stable, energy levels dip more frequently, and cravings become harder to manage. This creates a cycle where people eat more but gain less benefit from their meals. Proper storage helps maintain natural digestion rates and steadier metabolic responses, supporting more consistent energy throughout the day. What makes all of this especially significant is that these changes are cumulative. The effects of poor storage don't appear overnight, but build quietly over months and years. Paying attention to how food is stored becomes a form of preventive care, helping preserve nutrients, reduce digestive stress, and support the body's changing needs. When storage habits align with how the aging body actually functions, meals become more nourishing, more satisfying, and more supportive of long-term health without requiring drastic changes in diet or lifestyle. One of the most empowering truths about health after 60 is that meaningful improvements don't always come from strict diets or intense lifestyle overhauls, but from small, thoughtful adjustments that work with the body instead of against it. Simple kitchen changes, such as storing certain foods at room temperature rather than automatically placing them in the refrigerator, can have a surprisingly positive impact on digestion, energy levels, and overall well-being. As the body ages, it becomes more sensitive to food texture, temperature, and nutrient availability, and these subtle factors can influence how energized or comfortable someone feels after every meal. When foods are stored correctly, they retain their natural structure, flavor, and nutrient integrity, making them easier for the digestive system to handle. This means less bloating, fewer digestive disturbances, and a more relaxed gut response, which directly affects how energetic and alert a person feels throughout the day. Many older adults experience a heavy or tired feeling after eating and assume it's inevitable. But often this fatigue comes from digestion, working overtime to process foods that have been altered by improper storage. Adjusting where foods are kept can reduce that burden and allow the body to use energy more efficiently instead of diverting it to digestion. Another benefit of simple storage changes is improved appetite satisfaction. When food tastes better and has a natural texture, there's less need to add excess salt, sugar, or sauces to compensate for flavor loss. This supports healthier blood pressure, steadier blood sugar, and better weight management without conscious restriction. After 60, when calorie needs decrease but nutrient needs remain high, this balance becomes especially important. Properly stored foods encourage mindful eating and make meals more enjoyable, which supports both physical and emotional health. Gut comfort also plays a major role in overall vitality. A calm, well-functioning digestive system helps regulate inflammation, immune response, and even mood through the gut-brain connection. Small changes like keeping bread, fruits, oils, and certain vegetables out of the fridge can reduce irritation in the digestive tract and support healthier gut bacteria. Over time, this can translate into fewer aches and pains, better sleep, and more consistent daily energy, all without adding supplements or medications. Perhaps the most powerful aspect of these changes is how sustainable they are. Unlike strict diets that are hard to maintain, adjusting food storage requires little effort. Once it becomes a habit, there's no deprivation involved, only smarter use of what's already in the kitchen. For many people over 60, this sense of control and ease can be deeply motivating, reinforcing the idea that health doesn't have to be complicated or overwhelming. When small adjustments are made consistently, they create a foundation that supports long-term vitality, comfort, and confidence in the body's ability to feel good again.